Hi everyone, this is a look at my playing card collection. Now this is not all of them. I'm going to kind of look at these, and then I have a couple piles of my favorites. And, well, I do have some favorites in here too, but anyways, my favorites we're going to take a closer look at. So, people have asked me to do this. Oh, I meant to tape this up. This is an old deck that my daughter found me, but I need to tape the sides because it slides in and they come out. But I'll do that in a minute. Anyways, I've been collecting playing cards since I was married, and I was 20 when I was married, and I am 50 now. So, because I was raised in a fundamental Christian way for much of my childhood, from about 5th grade to high school, I should say. Playing cards were not something that were allowed. Now, I do remember as a younger than 5th grade playing Go Fish and different kinds of games like that. And I remember my grandparents and aunts and uncles sitting around and playing cards. And I have really fond memories of that. And then it went into, playing cards, idle hands are for the devil, that kind of thing. And playing cards and dice were not something that was allowed in the house. And so, of course, when you do something like that, you just a hint for you parents out there, when you do that, you take something and make something that's relatively innocuous, right? And you turn it into something, ooh, it's playing cards and they're of the devil. They must be something really cool about them, right? So, as soon as I think I just remember, I just always remember as an adult collecting playing cards. Now, I will say my collection is more condensed. I have gone through a number of moves, and I definitely have pared down my collection because I did have a lot of decks that were, I guess, kind of similar to this pile. We're going to look through these real quick, although we'll look more closely at the decks that are my favorites. But where they're just various color variations on the backs, but there's no changes on the fronts, or they were just tons of regular playing cards, right? So I have pared my collection down. I've also pared down what I purchase in terms of playing cards, although I do make exceptions to that. But in general, I do want to see some degree of changing on the card faces. So, for example, these are just standard, although this is I love this actual deck for playing games and things like that. This is a Vegas brand jumbo because I have poor eyesight. And so that I don't have to wear my glasses, and I can see this has actually been really well used. So, this is a good playing card deck for playing games. Favorite games for us, we played lots of card games in the hospital. As you know, my son was sick his whole life, and so we did spend a lot of time in the hospital, and a pack of cards can go a long way. Mostly King's Corners. We're a big fan of playing King's Corner. I'll try to remember to put a link in the description box of how to play King's Corner. I think the reason that we like that is that it's pretty easy to just chit-chat and talk and stuff while you're playing it. And so we played a lot of King's Corners in a lot of hospital rooms throughout 23 years. So, why this to me is really great is A, the card stock is great. I like to shuffle it. B, I love the large size. You don't really have to think twice about what the card is, and yet it has a little bit more standard in the center. I just really like this deck. Just for sheer playing games, it's a great deck. But let me get a better example, like this. This is just a playing card deck, right? And yeah, it's got a kind of pretty backing, but it's just a standard backing. It has this fairly standard, just the standard fronts that you would see for the courts. There's just nothing going on here differently, other than it does have, for a standard deck, it does have a nice bright, bold back thing. So I tend to nowadays try to, when I buy, and of course, what's wonderful about playing cards is they're so cheap. Generally, especially if you're like at Walgreens, or if you even go to Barnes, bookstores have lots of great, Books A Million has a great playing cards section, and Barnes & Nobles has a decent playing card section. You're going to spend anywhere from about $6 to $10 for a really good deck. I'll show you one of those in a minute. So they're fairly cheap things to grab, but because I do have a lot and I try to keep it contained in one cubby, my kind of rule of thumb right now is if they haven't done anything at all to the front, I tend to not purchase it unless there's just some reason that I have to ignore that rule. I used to always, I had a thing about jokers, and I always, as soon as I got a deck of cards, the first thing I did was throw out the jokers. None of the games that I played growing up as an adult, not growing up, but as an adult, none of them used jokers, and in playing card divination, I don't use the jokers. So for me, there was no reason to keep them. Obviously, for collectible purposes, you should probably keep your jokers, and I do keep them now, but for years, that was just sort of a ritual. I opened a pack, pulled the jokers out, threw them out, and I was good to go. Because I don't like really, let me see if I can find an example. I don't really like, if I'm going to use, because I do use my cards, like I either play games with my daughter, or, of course this I didn't do it correctly in, and it's missing a joker. I did go through all these decks last night. I just sat on the floor and went through them all. So this might be missing a joker. Anyways, I generally do this so that the cards that are not part of the deck are facing towards it. So it's pretty easy just, oh, there it is. So it's pretty easy just to grab the 3 cards. Sometimes there's blank cards, sometimes there's cards with 2 backs. I think it's for magic tricks. So I try to just put them on the front so I can pull them off and then be ready to use the deck. So this pile over here, since we're already here, we'll use this as an example. This is Bicycle Excellence. Is for just different colorations. They don't necessarily have a theme. Like these have a theme to them. These have themes, but I have multiples of. You know, these here are from places. These to me are same type of thing. This is like a failed. These are thematic, but they don't really go any further than the backs. That kind of thing. So there's not really an overall theme to this. It just has a beautiful back and it has a beautiful variation. Now the trouble with these types, I have several decks like this that are not as clear. Now this is better than some. Sometimes, and there's another extra card. Sometimes the differentiation between the blacks and the reds when they use color variations are not very prominent. And if you're playing a quick game like where you're not wanting to pay a lot of attention, such as King's Corner, and you're wanting to chit chat, I don't really actually like this kind. I think they're stunning and they're beautiful, but I don't really want to spend any time thinking, is this a red or is this a black? And yes, I know that the clubs and the spades are black and the hearts and the diamonds, but again, when you're just scanning, you don't want to think. Now again, this is actually a better, there is a contrast where there are a couple that I have that are so close that it just isn't, to me, it's not really playable as a card game, and I don't even like it for divination, but they're beautiful, so they're certainly something I would keep. So that's kind of this pile here are where there is some sort of a variation and they're beautiful, but it's not like a theme going on, such as the Beatles, or I guess I shouldn't have this just sitting here, sex positions of the day. Maybe we should like go like that. That's what I love that one though. Like even this one, this is Asura, Bicycle Asura. This has got a beautiful color back. The backing is gorgeous, and there is a color tone. Look at that. Like I do love a few of the changes here, but I wouldn't say this is a theme. Like I don't know what an Asura theme would be, but that's really beautiful. There have been some changes made to the front. and it has a gorgeous backing. Like, that is lovely. Lovely, lovely. And then these are, again, a theme in that it's a breast cancer awareness, but nothing has really changed. Well, this one I might be lying. This is the red plastic cup one. And so I guess that's a theme. See, maybe I should have been. Other than the ace, I think they're all the same. Yeah, it's just a standard deck of playing cards, except for the ace, the first ace there. So the ace of spades has that there. So it's like, okay. It's just kind of a fun little quirky thing. But they haven't gone to too much effort to change the fronts. This is breast cancer again. Yeah, they did change it to from pink. Now that's pretty cool. So I do actually like that. You have the pink tones to the court cards. I like that actually a lot. So that, you know, again, it's a theme. I guess I'll put that in the theme pile. And they did change the front. So I'm really happy when they do things like that. So that's that pile. This is a sad theme to me. Like, this was a disappointment. I think I found this at Books A Million. And so this was, I try to Google cards now because I get disappointed when you have these, you know, it looks like, oh, it's going to be Alice in Wonderland themed cards. But when you turn them over, it's just a playing card deck. I do like the size of this, so I would use this for a little bit more compact size. Feels a little bit more like a bridge size. But it was definitely a disappointment opening it up because there was no care whatsoever gone into changing the front faces at all. These are just decks that are from places, like this is from Disney World. This my friend Chris sent me from Thessaloniki in Greece. This is from Norway. My daughter got me this from Michigan because she's a dork. This is also from Michigan because, hey, I lived in Michigan a long time. This was a random, you know, cheap $1.50 shells like from Florida or something. And Kalahari is a place, it's like an indoor water park hotel that we have gone to a few times and needed a deck of cards to play, and there we go. So those are just like from places, that category, I guess. This is a Scopa deck. I actually do play Scopa. My daughter likes to play Scopa, and this is a deck of Scopa cards, and I have other ones. My daughter must have them because I don't know where they are because I have a couple other of these that I need to find. But, yeah, so this is not a 52 card deck, and it is not a, but it's great for playing Scopa and for divination. And then this is just a blank, so this is all blank backs, so that you can make your own cards. So put those over there, I suppose. So then these are thematic decks that I just have multiple things. Like I have two because people love me. Thank you very much. I have two different Edgar Allan Poe decks. I also found one of my favorite decks, which I think it was a steampunk deck that has Edgar Allan Poe in it. So he does like to show up in places. I actually have 3 Coca-Cola because you know I love Coke, but my favorite one's in my favorite pile. Jack Daniels. I do not drink Jack Daniels, but for some reason I like Jack Daniels playing cards. Harley Davidson. I quite love Harleys. I like riding on the back of a motorcycle. Star Wars. I actually have another one that's in a box, or in a Darth Vader head that I'll have to show you in a minute, but that's awesome. So I have 3 Star Wars decks, because who doesn't love Star Wars? And then, of course, I have zombie decks. I bought some zombie decks. People have sent me zombie decks because, you know, I love zombies. This is pretty cool how they did I like the blue, the color change here. All of these zombie ones are cool. But I don't know if I picked a favorite. We use a lot. I had one of these, and then I think somebody sent me one of these. I do love this one. Katie and I use this one a lot. It is, again, pretty clear, like the black and the red is pretty cool, or clear. So that one isn't easy to play games with, so I like that. This one I had a deck, and I think somebody sent me a deck. This one I love because it gives you advice. Don't be a hero. Let someone else get eaten. Keep a lookout. Zombies go all night long. Ponytails are out. Zombies are grabby. So I love this one because it gives you all kinds of advice. It's very clear, the red and the black, and it gives you advice for how to survive in a zombie apocalypse. So you know, oops, you know that is a winner for me if you've been watching my channel for any length of time. So that's awesome. And then this is Zombie Black. So this is a set with Zombie White. So this is a gorgeous set somebody had sent me. And again, it's pretty obvious between the two of them. And they stand out really well. Those are really well done, I thought, as well, though they're begging to be blackened on the edges, at least on the black. So those are my zombie themed ones. So these are just like themed decks that I just happen to have multiples of a similar theme. And then these are just, they're just different themes, like steampunk, sex position of the day. I mean, come on, Beatles, Pink Floyd. Love this Audrey Hepburn one that I had found. Tinkerbell, of course. This is a beautiful Alchemy 1977. This is a Dark Hearts. This is all, I think, by Anne Stokes artwork. Muha, Pyromaniac. This one is all $100 bills on the back. Dogs, America the Beautiful. This is called, I can't even read it. This is actually a hard deck to read. To me, this is a bit of a fail deck. It's nice to have as in a collection, but this would be, to me, a real pain in the butt to read, to play with or read with, because you really do have to focus on the symbol. There are differences, like it is red, but it's so busy and so subtle that this would not be a good deck for quick scanning. I think either playing or divination, but it's a great collection, right? This is really cool. This one is I don't even know the name of it. It's Alien Ink. That's what it is. Alien Ink. And it's really cool because it has like the moons here. And then when you get to the queens, it zooms in like it's changing the phase of the moons. Then you have like eclipses here. And then when you get to the things, you have this like flare going in closer. Then you have Earth, and you have kind of eclipsing the Earth, and you have Saturn, and it kind of zooms in closer and closer to Saturn. So that's, I thought that was really cute and clever. It changes the suits to the planets. Again, I probably wouldn't use it to play games with because you have to be thinking all the time, but I thought that was really clever. And then I have actually a couple De los Muertos decks that have been sent to me. I think there's 2 in my favorites. So these are just like themes, and I like these kind of decks. These are probably my favorite. I do like some of the beautiful colorations that are usable, but as you can see, I really do enjoy a well-done theme where they've changed the faces of the cards. The backs are cool. A perfect well-done deck, theme deck, is where it's very readable. You can see the differences between the two, or the black and the red suits, but there are changes to the fronts, changes to the backs, but also playable. Like that, to me, is a perfect theme deck. And then lastly, these are older decks. My friends and my daughter especially, she likes to go to like flea markets and things like that, and or garage sales and find like old decks. Like this is an old actual Navy deck that they would use in the Navy. Just an older deck my daughter found. I think my friend Kristen found. I love this deck. I think my friend Kristen found me this. This is a Shakespeare deck. It's got 2 decks, so 2 colorations. So oftentimes when you get sets of 2 cards, if you don't use playing cards, you'll have 2 colorations, but otherwise they'll be the same. So King Lear, Margery, Pistol. Look at how they've changed the, look at Catherine, Pores. They've changed the kind of cool shape of the hearts. King Lear, Isabel, I think that's Lawrence or Lance. I like how they divot into the heart. So this is just beautifully done. Shakespeare's reading cards. So I think this is a stunning set and is definitely one of my favorites. I don't know why it's not my favorites, but I don't read with this or do anything with it, but I love it. Again, some other 2 sets, you know, when people would play bridge and things of that nature. This last one I do really like. This is an older one, obviously, and well used, which I also love. I just like the shape of these. This says the Reliance Telephone Company and Leeds in London. So these have obviously been used. You can feel it. These are not cards that have sat and not been used. And the jokers are still there. Like, they kept their jokers. But this is a well-used deck. Like, the sides are amazingly worn. You can just feel it that it's been worn. I like the shape of it. It's like a little bit of a bow to the sides, and I think it's awesome. But I love this. This is a treat because this is a deck that didn't sit around being pretty, but was used, and I love it. So those are like older decks, I guess I would say. So that's a chunk of my playing card collection, more than you ever wanted to know about my playing cards. I added the stacks in just so that I could take a picture for Instagram, but this is pretty much, I think, other than my Darth Vader head, this is pretty much my whole collection now. I need to count them while they're up here. So it looks like I have, oh, plus the other one. So 90, for the other Star Wars one makes it 99, and then I actually have a little SpongeBob mini deck. I used to have more mini decks, but I used them for teaching like how to make a quick mini Lenormand deck, so I need to pick up a couple more. So that would be 100. Hello, SpongeBob, for 100. So I have exactly 100 playing card decks, and I have to say this is weeded down from a lot of decks that were, again, just basic decks that really didn't offer anything different or unusual or anything of that nature. So I'm pretty impressed that I've weeded it to 100 over the years. So, but of course, it will always be growing. Okay, so these are piles, 4 piles of my favorite decks. These over here are favorite decks that I actually like to use, I think are good for using for divination readings as well, although all of these can be, but these are kind of ones, my absolute favorites, as I think I've already talked about, are probably these 3. Definitely this is my go-to, but we'll come back to these in a second. So for right now, these are just my favorites for one reason or another. Again, I love all my decks, but, you know, certain things have gained precedence for some reason. This is the Royal Mischief playing cards by Patrick Valenza, which was so sweetly sent to me. Because they knew I didn't particularly love, oh my gosh, my brain is so dead. Deviant Moon. However, I do love the Marseille deck that he did. And this is really cool. So one of the things I like about this, I like the variation in color. Here where they've kind of shifts in color. It's mostly between the court cards. You can see the most difference between the court cards and the pip cards, but there is also variations between the pip cards themselves. So I really like that. I think that looks really sharp. We have a fairly standard pips. I feel like maybe, to be honest, the pips could have you know, done something a little bit more, given that this is Patrick Valenza, who's amazing. But then the court cards are what you would expect from Deviant Moon. Beautifully done. Quirky and kind of horrific. That kind of what he does so well. But in the back is gorgeous. So had to put that in there. And then we go from the artwork of Patrick Valenza to Disney. I love this Disney deck. Clearly it's been around a long time and was thrown into bags and was used in hospitals and things, but I actually really like this deck. It has posters from the old Disney movies, like Lady and the Tramp. Now the downside is that there are, I think all of the fours, let me see if I can find another, no. There are multiples of some of the posters, which I'm not a fan of. I feel like there should have been enough variations on posters to not have had to double them up. But I just love these. They're very playable because you can see the black and the red really clearly, and they're old Disney posters. And then there's the backs. I just like it. It makes me smile. I love Disney movies. I know that they're problematic. I have done papers on their problematicness, but I love Disney movies, and I love that deck. This is a really cool one called Elves and Orcs. It feels like it would be like a World of Warcraft style deck. My son would love this particular deck for sure. Let's see which one. Let's see. As you can see, I put the cards like in the front. But look at, I love this orc. He's looking at a bunny rabbit. But what I love is they went all out. So the spades have that cool look to them. And then they've got the great graphics here. I love the diamonds. Again, they almost look like cool leaves. And then we have some elves there. Like, I just think this is really well done. Some more orcs for the clubs, all spikily. And then some more elves for the hearts. And I love the sort of lattice work of the diamonds and the hearts. So I just feel like they did a really good job of pulling the theme all the way through, but still being a very usable deck. So that kind of follows what I like about thematic decks. I love this deck. This one actually might go into my decks to read with. So this is called Neverland. So again, we've got a double back one. And look, I do like these jokers. Look at Tinkerbell, or at least a fairy of some sort, and a mermaid. Again, beautifully done. The cards are beautifully done. You have text on them. This one says tick tock, tick tock. I do not have my glasses nearby. What's your plan? Captain here. Little lost boy. The humblest of the boys with the bear suit. Like, this is a sweet, sweet deck. And I just love, look at the mermaid. I just love this deck. This is definitely, oh, look at that heart too, the ace. So this is one actually I feel like using. So it's probably going to go into my use rotation. But I love this. This is beautifully done. Theme carried all the way through, still usable. Really great job on that one. Absolutely love it. This is also another great one, I think, for divination. This is the Animal Kingdom playing card deck. And look at it has animals. I like that the hearts, or the suits, they're pretty typical, but you can see they kind of have a roughed in or faded or drawn look about them, which I quite like. And then you have the animal art, obviously, on the faces. I just think it's a sweet deck, and I believe proceeds of this, look at that. Look at that. That's all spades. We have some Arctic themes. So I do really love this one. And again, I think it would be a great one for divination reading as well. Whoops. This one I love. Somebody told me about this, or I remember somebody telling me about this. So these are the face cards, but these are standard. I wish they had gone to a little bit of trouble where it wasn't quite just the regular bicycle thing. However, the backs are, look at that, tones of color. Look, that is awesome. So you could use that for a color deck. But it's just cool. Like, that's just cool. Sometimes it's just about, that's just cool. A simple but cool thing. I love that. It's Bicycle Spectrum. This is, of course, a Jaws. This is 40 years anniversary. What I love about this deck, I purchased this, was it a Kickstarter? I can't remember if it was a Kickstarter or if I got it after the Kickstarter. But what I love about these two cards, or all three of these cards, is we have the swimmer, and then everybody's gone and it's just the blood. And then we have just the backs being blood red. We have the jokers. But look at these again. Everything was changed. They're the reversible, like where it's the same image, reversible. They're really fantastic, except for the aces are just upright. So they did a really good job. I do wish that the diamonds and the hearts were more obvious in their color change, except for just that heart and the diamond change. Like even the coloration of all the graphics would have gone red. So I do wish they'd, especially for sharks with lots of bloodiness, like I feel like, of not sharks in general, but in terms of Jaws. So I wish that's the only thing that I would have said should have changed. But otherwise, I think that it's a really well done thematic deck, and who doesn't love Jaws? This was a very sweet deck that my sister-in-law had made for me after my son passed away. And it's just a standard playing card deck, although I do like the old style of the faces. So, and the kind of squared elongatedness of those. So I do like that. I do like the differences there. But what it is a drawing of a chickadee from my son, that my son drew. And it says a small hero with a big heart, which is something that he wrote on a drawing of his that's kind of become his descriptor for us. And so that, of course, is extremely special to me. Top of the favorites pile. Here we have a Dia de los Muertos, Day of the Dead. I quite love this one. I feel like this might go well with Dark Mansion, but I love skulls that have these kind of quirky shaped on the faces. But this is all out. Like, they have full on paintings for all of the cards, which is awesome. This golfer guy here. They also, of course, you can see the red and the blue really well. The mariner, the bandito. I love that Ace of Spades. So I feel like this, they just did a fantastic job. There is art, well done art, quirky art. I love that one on every single image. Look at the siren. Love it. Love it. And here's the back. Oops. Here's the back. So I feel like that is like fantastically done with all that artwork. This is a really cool deck. This is called the Black Book. And let me see if I can get, look at this. So this says hearts, and then inside the face is like love, compassion, invincible, dignified. These are the jokers. This is so you can pick out your birth card on the front. And then it has keywords, mysterious, here with the Ace of Spades. Gregarious is the main word here. Clever on the Three of Spades. Tenacious, wanderlust, aspirational, compassionate, perseverant. So they're words, I think, that are more descriptive of a person whose birth date that would be. But how awesome is that? That is a really cool, and just, now that, you know, come on folks, like, this is such a cool concept. And then to have that copyright, it's not even a copyright, it just says play your cards wisely. I don't really approve of that so much, but I didn't create the deck. But otherwise, that is a stunning, a unique deck that I love. And then, do I have the other one now? This is a weird, cool, weird one. And I can't even tell you the name of it because it's called Black Card. And you literally can only see anything if you just get it just right. The whole deck is black. They are like the plastic cards. And you can see there the tone, and then there you can, oh, it's going to be hard to see the faces. You have to get them just right to be able to see them, but otherwise, if you look at it in some light, it literally looks like just a black deck of cards. Not usable in any way, shape, or form, but very, very cool. So that's definitely a favorite. This is called the Silly Macabre, I think is what it's called. It's hard to read that. People do need to pay attention to those things. Sometimes I think the design doesn't always look for functional, right? This is really cool. I think they did a great job with the greens, and then the red, or the blacks and the reds, and then there's green tiny tones and red tones. So it's really obvious, and of course somebody's going to start mowing. I just think this was really well done. The art is, again, that sort of quirky skeletal that I do enjoy. I mean, look at her, like, she's beautiful. So I do think this is really cool. Look at her. So I think it's quirky and it's funny and it's well done and well put together. So now, and there's the backs. We will now pause whilst people mow in my backyard. So that, I think we're getting close here. I know who wants to, you know, only people watching this are going to be people who are interested in playing cards, right? This is one of my Coke ones. I just really like this one because they, you know, again, a lot of work has gone into, I love the pips. Like, look at the pips with the Coke bottles. I just think this is really, they did a fantastic job. So, yes, yes, and yes, that is my favorite of the Coke ones. And this is just a beautiful, beautiful deck. This is Bicycle Gold. And look at that. So it does have the, again, which can get tricky, but that is really much more obvious than a lot of these. And so I think that they, the contrast is really there, which you don't often see with this style. Look at how beautiful that is. But it's just a really gorgeous deck. Like, that's just a beautiful deck. So, and look at the backs. Beautiful. So I love that. That's definitely a favorite. I already did the Disney. And the, whoops. And let's just even things off. This is Steampunk Pirates. I just love it. And I think this is the one that also has Poe in it, I think. But they just did a good job. Again, you've got all these kind of map scrolls, and then you know, it's got that, there he is with the raven. Looks like a mechanical raven on his shoulder. I just think they did a good job with this. Again, they picked a theme and they did really good with it. I love her. Look at the aces. That's one of the things I really love. I don't have them all right here, but the aces are really gorgeous in this deck. So this is definitely a favorite. I just think it's really cool, and I love the back. Who doesn't like some steampunk pirates? I like some steampunk pirates. We have a jokers as some guys there. So I thought that was, again, very well done, very thorough in sticking with the theme. So I love that. So those are some favorites of mine. But this favorite category over here, which I have stuck this with because I'm going to, let's move this up here too. I'm probably going to use that actually. These are favorites that I think also work really well in playing card divination for one reason or another. These three right here are almost always out, and right now this is my primary one that I'm using for reading. So this is just a stunning deck. This is House of the Rising Spade. I showed this on I don't remember what it was, but people saw it and they wanted to know what it was. It's out of stock right now, but there you can sign up to be a playing card deck, and this does have like hearts and cups, and it's just a nuance to, you can kind of look to the tarot minor as well as to the playing card, or just treat it as the minors from the playing cards. And it has one of my favorite backs of all times. I have the black one in the full tarot, so that one's almost always out. And then this is one of my favorites. This is Wagner's Ring. So we have Arthur Rackham's illustrations for this. This is actually really dropped them or something. But they have the images, and then they have like what's going on in the scene. So Surrenders the Golden Horde. So you can use well. So it really does work well as a playing card deck. Divination story that's happening, that is being told through this scenic tips on what's happening in the scenes. So again, a second sort of story layer. And they're just beautiful. But the playing cards still, even with all of the, stands out really well, and you can see that really well. I should probably just zoom in a bit for these so that people can see them. So this is one I like for divination because A, they're beautiful, B, the playing card stands out, and C, you have that added layer of the story. I just think this is actually would make a really sweet, try to get another, like a black one in here. I think it would be a really neat one to show up for some playing. Popping and bada boom. This is called the Bicycle Divine. This is one that I also think is amazing for divination because it's just, look at that ace. I mean, look at how beautiful that is. It's just gorgeous. But it's fairly simple, right? So it's a fairly simple deck, and I think definitely needs maybe the edges black. Again, as with tarot, I don't collect playing cards to sell them. First time I'm going to get a whole bunch of reds because I didn't spend enough time. But I think it's just beautiful. It's just clean. I mean, it's got a lot of scrolliness, but it still has a simplicity that is still really gorgeous. I mean, look at that Ace of Hearts. That's really gorgeous. So this, I think, would, again, because when I was going to do this, I went through I opened pretty much all of them, and I'm like, oh, I don't know why I'm not using that one. That's a blank one. I don't know why I'm not using that for divination because it's actually really beautiful. So that's going into my pile. I think I showed this one already, or a version of it. Or is this my example? Yes, this is an example of what I wouldn't use. It's very, very faded, and it's beautiful as a collector piece, but I really don't think that the cards stand out enough to make it, and you want to watch that, I think, with divination. Again, it's like, you know, you don't want to really have to overthink. And yes, can you tell when something, oh my goodness, now we're going to get all, Can you tell when, you know, you should know obviously what a club is and that kind of thing, but you don't want to have to, when you're scanning like a 9 card, you just want to see them and have them stand out. And it also doesn't photograph really well in terms of showing the difference between the two, and so you'd have to fiddle with it to up it. So this was an example of one that I think doesn't actually work well for playing card divination, as was this. Although this one I really love. No, I'm going to take that back. I love, look at the people on this. Like, I just love the court cards here. It's like almost like Golden Disney or something like that. But I will say you're not going to get too much variation between the two, but on this one I think I would give an exception just because I love these court cards. See if we can get a mix. I don't know. It's a gorgeous ace. See, now there's a 10 of clubs. Look at her. I mean, come on. So this one, I think I would probably, let's see if I can get another court here. I think I would make it, and they all have birds, and the backs of them have gold birds. So this is another one that I'm like, oh my goodness, why is this sitting there and not being out and used? So I'm gonna make an exception. Look at that joker, is gorgeous. Yeah, those are 2 magic cards. I'm assuming that's what those are used for. I'm going to put that out in rotation because I just love the courts. I've got to show my daughter that. This is just, I think, beautiful is what I think, but yeah. So this is, look at that. Like, that is gorgeous. And they stand out really well against each other. Look at that. I love the quartz. It's almost got a modern medieval look to the quartz. This, I think, is a fabulous deck. It's called Bicycle Elegance. I just think this is a really gorgeous one. I'm like, why is this? I'm working on getting my class together for playing cards. And so I'm like, okay, I need to pull some of these other ones out. Let me find some spades. There's a spade, but see how they stand out really well because of the differing back. It's not just the color of the pips, it's the color of the background. And so this, I think, is an excellent example of a really beautiful deck that is going to work really well for divination. So that, oops, there's something I gotta always when you're doing this, remember to get all the cards out, especially if you're gonna cast a reading, right? So that's that. This is one of my favorites. This is Hesslers. This is Bicycle Hesslers. This is not good for yes and no's because there are 4 different colors. So we have the spades are yellow, or I'm sorry, the diamonds are yellow, the spades are blue, the hearts are red, and the clubs are green. I mean, you could still use it. This is yes and probably yes. This is no, and this is probably no, right? So you could still use it, but you do have to pay attention a little bit more. But it's so lovely. The suits just stand out gorgeous because of those color variations. So this is definitely a favorite of mine, and I've certainly used it for playing card divination. This, I don't even know what it's called. We'll see if there's an inset card. It looks like there is. I was playing with this, another one I was playing with yesterday. It just says deckstarter.com. Oops, so I throw them. Kind of typical. I don't know what the name of this. It's by Debbie Millman, but I think this is actually an amazing, it says on the front, play me, bluff me, beat me, tease me, but please, oh please let me win on the back, which is awesome. But I think this is probably going to be the one I'm going to set out to work with right at this moment, although I feel that about a few of these. But look at how gorgeous this is for playing card divination. They're kind of all over the place, but there's a lot of stuff to play with here. Let's get some other colors. Come on now. Look at these. Look at the 8s. Like, I just think, hello, you. The jacks. Like, they're really cool. Look at that queen. Those are really cool. And again, the black and white stand out quite well, so that's not an issue. I just think it would make a real cool modern. I like the large numbers, so the numbers and the colors stand out really solid. I just think that would make a really cool. It's like, yeah, you know, things are starting out rocky, and for a little while it feels like you're going to be able to achieve what you're trying to achieve, but then the 8 of spades comes along and says, no, it's probably not going to work out in the end. I just think that's gorgeous, and definitely one that will play well for divination. This is American Frontier. This is another one that I'm like, why is this not on my shelf for actual divination playing cards? Okay. Look at, so it's the Frontier, and the court cards are beautiful animal cards. Look, every court is an animal, but just gorgeously done. Look at that Ace of Spades. So gorgeous. But then the jokers are Bigfoot, which I think is pretty funny. That was cute. So this is called, again, let's see if I can get some with a mix. I mean, look at that. That is really gorgeous. That is gorgeous. That is definitely staying out. This is why you gotta go through your stuff every so often. This is called the Amber Stag. This is a beautiful one. This was sent to me, and again, when I was going through it, I was like, why is that not out? It's just a simple deck, but it's really elegant. Like, that is I just like there's a gold tone to the quartz. Very simple, very gorgeous backing. This just makes a nice, clean playing card deck that I think is actually beautiful, and it shuffles like a dream. So this is Bicycle Amber Stag. This is one of my favorites. Now, people have probably seen this. Melissa had sent this to me, and then I used it to make my Hope Lenormand, which is like if you found in a Lenormand deck whilst you were rifling through the houses in the end of the apocalypse, then this would be the deck that you found. And so some of it's kind of a little bit faded. I went in and sandpapered it anymore. Again, look at that. I mean, the aces are stunning. I just actually went up and picked up another one of these, so I had it as a playing card deck because it's so gorgeous. And it shuffles like a dream. This is a little more expensive. Like if you go to you know, Barnes and Nobles or Books A Million, you're going to pay between, you know, usually around $6 for a playing card deck. This was $10 at Barnes and Nobles if you didn't put any coupons or anything on it. But it shuffles beautifully. It's gorgeous. Again, very clean. It's really beautiful. Like, she's gorgeous. And then, as I said, the aces are just stunning. So this is a amazing deck for either playing games or playing cards. And this is called Contraband. And the deck is, or the box is gorgeous. I mean, we haven't even talked much about some of these boxes. Are really above and beyond. This is a deck that is by Dead on Paper as well, which is the other one of my absolute favorite decks. So they came out, I think it was a Kickstarter perhaps, for Ecliptic Zodiac playing cards. And this came, I don't know, it was this year, I think the beginning of this year maybe. So I haven't really used it too much, and I forgot that I needed to, so these are the extra cards. But it is really beautiful. Look at, so, you know, in playing card divination, the the quartz are often attributed to astrological signs because there are 12 of them, right? It makes sense. So we have Sagittarius. Look at how stunning that is. And I have to say, I think the color does not show up well on the camera. At least I'll have to see when I look back at it. It's a beautiful royal blue where it looks a little more teal or something on my viewfinder. Look at my card. The Queen of Swords is obviously for Libra. Gorgeous, gorgeous with the scales. So look at the King of Wands or the King of Clubs as Leo. So again, you can tell them apart really well. And then you have that gorgeous artwork. Look at that. I mean, they really are. The aces have the zodiac right in the middle of them. You can see. So this is beautiful, and it then has the added benefit of, or especially if you're someone who does like to use, astrological information in playing card reading. Then it has it like right there out in, bam, there you are. And it's just gorgeous. Cardstock is beautiful. Done on Paper does an amazing job with their, okay, can we get some variety here? They do an amazing job with cardstock. Look at that. Like, that is stunning. I hope that I'll have to look again and look back. If for some reason this is not showing up color-wise, this is a beautiful, go to the website. It's a beautiful royal blue. I need to find a good royal blue for the sides, although, there's a lot of white here too, so it doesn't really, it's not horrible. So this is a newer one of mine that is definitely going to be in the rotation for playing card divination. So there we go. There's one other little quirky one that I wanted to show real quick in terms of reading with. This is a 2-pack, 2 easy to shuffle decks by Hoyle. It's in a plastic box. I think I got this when we were at, again, like a water. We used to like to go to Kalahari because it was indoors. Michael didn't get as overheated, could go up to the hotel room. There was water. There wasn't a lot of, it was indoors, so there wasn't the sun there. So it was just a good place for us to go for those kind of little breaks. And so I feel like that's where I got this. But look at, there are these little skinny decks. There's 2 of them. They actually shuffle fine. I have no issue shuffling. We played with these. They shuffle really well. But what this is great for in terms of playing card divination is look at how skinny they are for runs. And yet they are really clear. Of course, I need to shuffle them more than once. You can do a 7-card run and it's very compact. Look at that. Or a 5-card, like a lot of times people like to have 5, or a 6-card run, or a 7-card run, and it's all compacted within this space, which is probably what, 3 cards size-wise, 2 per card maybe. But this is really great. There are a lot of people who do love to do runs. I don't use them as much in playing card divination as I would say in Lenormand or Kipper or something like that. Very often I'm doing either a 9-card or a lot of times I like to do a 6-card like that. So it's not as, useful for that kind of thing because then it's nice and skinny. 6-card is not too bad for, again, it's still quite compact for a 6-card. But definitely if you like to do runs, this is a really compact way to do runs, and I think that in a small space. So I just thought that was pretty cool. A, I like it for my collection, and we did use this, and B, I think, again, for runs and things like that, that's a nice little quirky thing to use for divination. So that is that. These are the ones that, after going through everything, I was like, these just need to be out on their shelf separately so that I can use them, grabbed from them for playing card divination for one reason or another. Have an absolutely wonderful day. I hope that you enjoyed looking at all these cards, and I enjoyed going through them in this kind of process of touching everything that I own and putting everything, cleaning them, putting everything back. And so this was the final bastion, I think. I can't think of anything else that I have, any cubicle that I haven't touched, any drawer, any closet, nothing. Like everything in my house has been gone through. This was the last the last bastion of things.